Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. Today I'm going to finish my series where I reviewed all of the Harry Potter movies. This time we're doing the last one, which is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And yeah, so I'm just going to kind of give my overall thoughts on the movie, tell you some information, some positives, negatives, and yeah, and so we'll be finishing this series. We're a really great series, one of my favorite movie franchises of all time. So it's been such a blast getting to go through these. I have to thank Breyer a lot for requesting me to do these movies. It's been great. So yeah, stay tuned and hear my thoughts here on Jason, the Old Millennial. Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing well here on a Wednesday evening. And I come to you again to do another video talking about Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows. Of course, I talked about the book last time because they made two movies on this book. They split them in half. But yeah, great book. To be honest, probably my favorite book in the series. Really great ending to I think in my opinion, it's my favorite fantasy series. Book series of all time. I've read it. This is the third time I've read through the series, and I still get so much joy out of reading it. And I have all 8 movies, and this is the part 2, the last movie. I saw 6 of the 8 movies in the movie theater, so I didn't get to see all 8 in the movie theater, but I got to see 6 of them. Anyways, and yeah, I'm definitely a big Harry Potter fan. I mean, the book series, the movies, I think are really well done and adapted from the book series, and I think they did a great job on this last movie. Finishing out the series. Of course, the last movie is usually always my favorite in the series because it's got the advantage of that you get to see closure to the main characters, and you get to see the bad guy get defeated, and you get to see this relief of like, oh, we defeated the bad guy, now we can finally live like normal lives, somewhat normal lives, and go back, and not have to worry and fear for this evil anymore, which is Voldemort in this series. And so it's the same thing for Star Wars. Like the third movie is my favorite in Star Wars. Lord of the Rings, the third movie is my favorite. I think if you look at any series, the last movie in the series is going to always be my favorite of the series. And it's no different here. I mean, this is absolutely fantastic movie. Yeah, and it's funny, when I saw it in the theater, because the book was so great. I think I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but man, that was the best read I ever had in my life when I first read this book. Like, I was so emotional. Like, I've never been that emotional reading a book before. But man, I was like so emotionally like crying and astounded by things that are happening. And when I read the end, like I had to sit down and just think about it for like 15 minutes. Like, I remember I just sat down and just like try to process what I just read in the book. And there's a lot of scenes like that in the book. And so it's obviously a lot of hype, very excited to see it in the movie theater. They definitely it's one of those movies where it's like, yeah, they have to get it right. It's kind of like Avengers Endgame was the same way. It's like, man, they need to do this right to do the series justice. And I think they did. When I saw it in the movie theater, though, I was actually a little disappointed because they changed some things around, like they do in all movies. And it's always hard when you're a fan of the book series and then you see it on the movie adaptation, and in your mind you have, pictures in your mind of what you think the movie should go. And then when it doesn't go quite the way you wanted the book to go, you're just like, why did they change it around, And so I remember being somewhat disappointed, thinking it was not nearly as good as the book. And it wasn't until later, after I bought the Blu-ray, I think, and I watched it again, that I was like really like kind of emotionally invested in the movie and thought, wow, this is actually a really good movie, and it kept me emotionally invested. And I'll talk about a couple of scenes in the movie that really got me emotional and still does today. And overall, I think they do a really incredible job with this movie. And so I've turned around and like, yeah, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like it's a 5 out of 5, star movie, in my opinion. Yeah, so just go over the movie a little bit. It was made in 2011, so it's crazy. It's been almost 13 years now since this last movie came out. And it's funny seeing all the actors, unfortunately we've lost many of them, to be honest. I know Robbie Coltrane, who played Hagrid, has passed away, and the guy who played Dumbledore passed away. So we've had some, and we've seen Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and Rupert Grint all grow up, and now they're adults, like, in their 30s probably, or, and so it's weird seeing them all getting older and seeing their careers, advance, over all these years. And I still watch these and go, man, I remember watching this like it was yesterday. But yeah, the movie made was 2011. The director was David Yates, again, the fourth movie that he directed in a row. So he definitely became the Harry Potter director, even though at the beginning they were changing directors almost every movie, it felt like. But he really took over midway through. Stephen Kloves wrote the screenplay, which he wrote 7 of the 8 screenplays. Interesting, I don't know why he didn't get one of them, but still he's done such a great job. I mean, he should get an award for how good he adapted these books into these movies. Really, really good job. Not a lot to say about who stars in the movie. It's the same actors. The only new one I thought was relevant was Ciarán Hinds, who plays Dumbledore's brother in the movie, who not in a lot, but he has a small part, but he's still a major character that does something important. Besides that, it's kind of the same actors coming back and same characters. This did get 3 Oscar nominations, 1 for makeup and hairstyling, 1 for visual effects, and 1 for art direction. So unfortunately, it didn't win any, and Harry Potter didn't win any Oscars during its eight movie run, which is too bad. It probably should have gotten something in there, but fantasy movies don't do well at the Oscars, unfortunately. Domestically, it grossed $381 million, so it did pretty well there. Worldwide, $1.3 billion, so yeah, it made $1 billion, over $1 billion worldwide. So yeah, it was. I remember when it came out. Of course, how can you not be excited? It's the last movie in one of the most popular franchises of all time. Yeah, a lot of people went to see this, including me. So yeah, it did very well at the box office. As this whole franchise is maybe the biggest gross franchise of all time, grossing in the box office, because each movie made so much money. It's absolutely incredible what they did with the series and all that. But yeah, so I get to my negatives and positives, and I'm gonna say right off top, I have no negatives. This is the only movie where I couldn't even think really of a negative to say. Like I said, it's a perfect movie to me, a 5 out of 5 star movie. It's one of the greatest movies I've seen, and every time I see it, I get so emotionally invested in it. So I can tell you, I have a lot of positives for this movie. Of course, there's 2 big scenes. There's a big scene where they break into Gringotts Bank, where they have to get one of the Horcruxes, and I thought that whole scene's great. How they had to use the they had to pretend like to be Bellatrix Lestrange, Hermione does, and how they have to get down there, and then there's a dragon, which is similar to what the book is. Yeah, it's a couple differences, but pretty similar. But then they have to get on the dragon. I'm going to spoil the movie. Sorry, I should say this. I'm going to spoil the heck out of the movie and the book here to talk about my feelings on this movie. So if you haven't read or seen the movie, you do what you want. But anyways, yeah, so they get on this dragon, have to get out. Anyways, it's a great sequence in the book and in the movie. They do a really great job of that sequence. Obviously, the big part of the movie is that final battle scene where Voldemort goes, where they have to go to Hogwarts and kind of take over Hogwarts, Harry Potter and Hermione and Rupert, whatever, not Rupert, Ron. And they kind of take over Hogwarts, and all the teachers kind of band together, and they have to kind of defend Hogwarts against Voldemort and all the Death Eaters and all kinds of like trolls and spiders and all kinds of evil things. And so, yeah, of course, it's a final movie, so we're gonna have this epic battle. Like I said, one of my negatives on, I think, the 6th movie was that in the book there was a battle scene at the end of that movie that they don't really do, or in the book. In the book, there's like kind of a battle scene at the end, but they don't do it in the movie, and I still kind of wish they would have done that because it's a big battle scene in the book. And I know they didn't do it because they're waiting for this battle scene here, and they didn't want to, I guess, they feel like they're repeating themselves, so they do 2 battle scenes at Hogwarts. So they didn't really do much of a battle scene in Hogwarts in the 6th book, Half-Blood Prince, and kind of saved it for this one. But I guess I get that, but they definitely went all out on this battle scene, and it's the best like wizard magic battle scene I've ever seen, So they did do a really good job with it. overall. And there's so many little parts I have to talk about here, of course. Yeah, so first, one of the greatest scenes during that whole thing is the Molly Weasley versus Bellatrix Lestrange. Bellatrix Lestrange is one of the most evil characters in the movie and book, and murders, of course, Sirius Black, which Harry Potter, of course, wants revenge against. And she's also Neville's parents. I think she did a spell on them, and anyways, and they can't, their minds wiped or whatever, they're warped or whatever. And so she's definitely somebody we've been wanting to see justice. And she she killed Dobby too. So I mean, she's murdered a lot of beloved characters. So we definitely watching that. You really want to see Bellatrix Lestrange get hers. But it's in the book. I mean, the movie they do such a good job. But you don't think Molly Weasley. Molly Weasley's just a mother. She doesn't seem like Bellatrix Lestrange seems like this ultra powerful, like almost the second most powerful behind Voldemort maybe. And so someone you don't want to really mess with, and who's murdered many people. And a scene where she's fighting, I think, and she throws she's fighting with one of the Weasleys. What's her? I forget now. The Weasley girl. And so Molly Weasley steps up and says, "That's my daughter, you," and then uses the B word. And that is such a great scene when because you're like, wow, Molly Weasley, like just a housewife, is going to go up against this, one of the most evil people in the world. And then because I guess the idea is that because she's defending her daughter, she's a mother, she steps up her game as a wizard. And we never seen her do wizard stuff, but I don't know how powerful she is, but she definitely that motherly instinct kicks in. She steps up her game and kills Bellatrix Lestrange. And seeing her die, and it's just like, oh, like, yes, Molly Weasley. That was a great, that was an awesome scene for Molly that you weren't expecting, anyways. But just that moment, get away from her, that's another movie, but it's something like that, anyways. But it was such a great scene, and I still get a kick out of that. I talk about Ron Hermione finally kissing. If you're watching this, the series, there's obviously hints that Ron and Hermione. There's some kind of chemistry there, and that you just know, like, oh, they're going to end up together. That's how these kind of movies, that's how it works. Eventually the guy and girl's going to get together. But they do such a good job of kind of hinting at there's like they like each other, but it seems like more like friends. And I mean, to be honest, Ron gets like friend zoned, but he gets it in the end. He gets the girl in the end, so he gets over that friend zone curse, luckily. And and so you're waiting for that moment when they're finally gonna kiss, and it happens in the book, and it's a great moment. You don't really, I don't know if you see it in the book. No, you do, but it's a different scene in the book where they kiss, and it's kind of a funny scene in the book. I love how they do it in this movie, though. Sometimes I don't like when they change it from the book, but this is one case where I think they do a great job showcasing that scene where they go to get one of the basilisk's teeth because it has poison on it or whatever, and they destroy one of the Horcruxes with the basilisk teeth or something like that, and they're down that dungeon area, and then like all this water rushes over them, I believe, and they just stand there like stunned, and then all of a sudden they kiss, and it's funny and just satisfying because they're like, yes, that was an epic kiss. Like, that's what we want to see out of these two characters. So kudos, they did a great job. They like I said, I don't think they did a good job with Harry and I can't remember her name, the Weasley girl, the sister or whatever of Ron. I never thought they did a very good job with that romance story, but they did a good job with Ron Hermione, and to see that happen was great. I would talk about Neville. Neville, I mean, what a redemption character, kind of, in a sense. Not that he was a bad person, but that he was always this fat, clumsy kid from the very beginning. He was always made fun of. He was, kind of overweight. He was clumsy, all this stuff. He never thought he would ever amount to anything. Of course, then you get these later movies, and the actor actually slimmed down. He got taller and bigger and slimmed down, and they kind of took away the whole klutz part of his character. And it was kind of cool to see Neville become a hero in this movie. I mean, he stands up to Voldemort at one point. He gets the sword, the Gryffindor sword, and of course, in that moment where he cuts off the head of Nagini, the snake that has one of the Horcruxes in it. When he does that scene, and that was like the last Horcrux. So it was like that Neville's heroic scene there. Plus, he was the snake was going to, I think, attack Hermione or somebody, and Ron maybe or something. I don't know. So he saved somebody, cut off the head of the snake, and that was the last blow to Voldemort to allow Harry to kill Voldemort. So I mean, his heroic deed helped kill Voldemort. I mean, you couldn't have done it without Neville. Neville was very important to the story, and you wouldn't think that when you're watching the first movie. Neville just seems like this funny side character that's a klutz that you make fun of and never amount to anything. And then when you get to this movie, it's like, oh man, Neville, what a hero. He really came out in the end. And I just love that for Neville. That whole character arc, I think, was great. We had to talk about Potter's kind of death scene, which are like, it's crazy in the book when you find out, and I'm skipping ahead of another scene I'll talk about a little bit here, but that whole scene where he finds out that he has to die because he has part of the Horcrux in him. I mean, absolute genius writing. I mean, who would have thought? Like, and that kind of explains everything from the past, like why he can talk to snakes, Parselton, whatever, all these different things. Why he can see into Voldemort's mind sometimes, or whatever, and why he has like the twin wand that Voldemort has, or Tom Riddle has. And you find out that, because when Voldemort, tried to kill him, and that's why he has that scar, that lightning scar on his head. When he tried to kill him, and it backfired, but part of Voldemort, like, stayed in Harry or something like that, and became another Horcrux for him. And so the idea that, Harry Potter has to die in order to defeat Voldemort, it was like, I mean, that's a crazy moment. You're like, what? Harry Potter? Like, he's the main character. He can't die. And so it definitely was shocking in the book when it happened. Of course, as we know, he comes back to life because he doesn't totally die, just that Horcrux part of him, I guess, died, and he was able to come back to life. But the whole scene is so good. Like, when he has to walk down, he's walking down to his death, and then he sees, the ghost of, like, his parents and Sirius Black. Oh, man, just amazing scene. It was in the book and the movie. And then him and Dumbledore speaking, kind of this afterlife area. It's such a incredible moment that you're like, wow, like, it's such great writing. Yeah, so now I'm going to talk about my favorite scene in the movie. One of the greatest scenes of any movie, one of the best, again, why J.K. Rowling's a genius writer, I think, and one of the greatest ideas, because it deals with the character Snape, who is my favorite character, I think, in the whole series. I really like Snape, and Alan Rickman is so good. He should have gotten an Oscar. I think he gave such a good performance in this character, and especially in this movie. I would have loved to see him get an Oscar. Of course, he unfortunately passed away. It seemed like not too long after, and he's such a good actor, and he really great casting. Totally nailed the character in Snape, and so Snape throughout the series, you're like, is he a bad guy? Is he good? Because he obviously used to be a bad guy, used to be a Death Eater, used to follow Voldemort, and he was in Slytherin, which is the evil house of Hogwarts. So, it's like there's definitely some evil in him. But you're like, well, but Dumbledore seems to trust him, and he, and all this. So you're thinking, oh, is he a good guy now, or is he secretly a bad guy? And there's all these stuff that happens that you go, man, I think. But I remember when we were reading the books, me and my sister Abby kind of thought, I think Snape's probably a good guy, and he's going to redeem himself in the end. And we were right. I think we really kind of had, we saw that, coming, and I'm so glad it happened the way it did. And it's incredible. It's an incredible moment in the book. I love the Pensives because you get to see the past, and so then explain so much of what happened, and kind of, especially Snape, because like I said, you knew little bits of Snape, like he was bullied by Harry's father, James, and that's why he hated Harry Potter. Kind of that stuff, but then when we get into the Pensieve and see Snape's past, see him as a kid, and see that he knew Lily Potter wasn't Lily Potter part of the time, but Harry's mom, Lily, as a kid, and then through school, and then afterwards, and you find out that, here's a big spoil. I mean, it's so incredible because you don't know this throughout the whole series, but that Snape was actually in love with Harry's mom and loved her until she died. And, and how that whole story plays out. And then that moment, and then when he's talking to Dumbledore, oh, so great. When he's talking to Dumbledore, and he finds out that, Dumbledore's dying and that he would have to be the one to kill him because Snape kills him in the 6th book. And you're like, oh my gosh, Snape, Snape's evil. He killed Dumbledore, the greatest character in the book. And then you find out, no, Dumbledore wanted him to kill him so that, what's his name? Draco Malfoy wouldn't kill him. And so he was trying to save Draco Malfoy from, being evil by having Snape do it. I mean, it was incredible writing. I mean, just absolutely amazing. And when you find that out, you're like, oh, wow, okay, that's what happened. So Snape wasn't evil. He wasn't trying to kill her. He wasn't killing Dumbledore, for Voldemort, but because Dumbledore wanted him to, in order to help Draco, Draco's like a little evil character, but yet Dumbledore is such a great character that he wanted to save Draco. I don't know. It's amazing when you think about it. But anyway, so that whole scene, you find out, and then then you find out that he tried to warn Dumbledore that Voldemort's going after the Potters, and he's trying to save Lily because he still loves Lily, even though Lily married Harry Potter's father James, but he's still in love with Lily, and then you find out. In that moment when he says, like you still love her or something like that, and then he does the, what do you call it? I forget now, but it's and he does this thing that's in the shape of a deer, and you find out that sometimes if you like love somebody, sometimes you're I forgot what it's called, the thing that's like your animal thing, can change to the person that because everybody has different animals that represent their. Then I'm not making sense because I'm forgetting the name of it. But anyways, when you find out that he changed his to a deer because he loved Lily, like that was, oh my gosh, you're like, oh my gosh, this whole time, and he goes yes or something like that, and you're like, oh, Snape always loved Lily and always wanted to, was devastated. And then that scene where Snape goes through the house after Voldemort killed James and Lily, and man, that scene is so powerful. Like every time I see it, I cry. Like it's such an emotional scene, and it's so good. Like every time I watch the scene, like I usually fast forward it, or I mean rewind it and watch the scene over a couple more times because I love the scene so much that I'm like, I can't watch it just once. I have to keep watching it because that emotion in Alan Rickman is so good when he's holding Lily's dead body and you see Harry like crying in the background as a baby, with all this dramatic music going on. And you go, oh man, Snape. So Snape was devastated when Lily died and all this stuff. And he's been working behind the scenes to try to defeat Voldemort. I don't know. That whole scene, the way it plays out, the way you reveal Snape. Snape has like maybe the greatest character arc of all time. Like I absolutely love his character arc when you find out all the information. And you don't find it until towards the end of the last book. And then you're like, oh, this is what was going on this whole time with Snape. Wow, that's amazing. I've explained so much. And then you read it over the book series again and you just know, okay, all this plays out to what happens here. But yeah, it's a great scene. Love that scene. Then of course they talk about Potter and and Voldemort and that final showdown and them out there, with the wands and their hit the beams from the wands, whatever, hitting. And you find out that Harry Potter actually has like the what's it called, the most powerful wand in the world, and when you find out the information, then he uses that to then kill Voldemort. Of course, it's always great when the bad guy dies and the way he dies and he kind of just disintegrates into the air, and you're like, oh, we finally defeated Voldemort, who's been terrorizing everybody for a very long time. One of the great villains of all time, in my opinion, Voldemort. I think and Ralph Fiennes does such a great job with the character. So that moment, obviously, it's absolutely amazing that, and the way they do it's very epic. It seems like there's wind blowing on them and the camera is going all over the place around, it's just this epic shot, special effects, amazing. And that moment when he finally defeats, Voldemort is just hands down, just a great moment, of all time. But yeah. And then the last positive here, should be ending this video, but the epilogue is so good. It's so great in the book too, because when you find out, oh, we're gonna go like into the future when Harry and Hermione and Ron are all adults and they have kids of their own that are now going to Hogwarts, and you get to see how their lives are, and you get to see other people, and Draco, he's still alive and he's married and has a kid, and that moment of them looking at each other like, we were enemies who hate each other, but you know, now we kind of, there's some kind of mutual respect. That's amazing. You never thought you'd see that. And so the book just takes you, and the movie takes you in directions you didn't think it would. And that's what I love about this movie, and the whole series is just absolutely amazing. And how they do that anyway. So yeah, I love the epilogue. I love that they did that they got to show you what happens, you know, 20 years later or whatever it was, you know, what happens to all these beloved characters. I always love when they do that in movies or TV series, whatever, where you get to see, you're like, okay, we're ending the story now here, but they have all this life left to live. And so you always have to wonder, I wonder what happened after all this was over with. And I love how they did that. And you get to see, oh, now Harry Potter's seeing his son go to Hogwarts. You know, it's a great way to end the whole series. And yeah, it's amazing. Like I said, I say that all the time, but it is an amazing movie. Just talking about it just gets me so excited for it and emotional, you know, thinking about all this stuff, you know. But yeah, yeah, I love talking about this movie, love watching it, love reading the book. It's a fantastic. So that's the end of the series, and I hope everybody enjoyed hearing my thoughts on these Harry Potter movies and the books. Anyways, and I will do another video where I rank all the movies, and that'll be the end of the series, basically. But definitely shout out Briar. Definitely check him out. Briar's Music Showcase. Briar's such a great friend. One of my favorite people to talk to on YouTube and outside of YouTube and collaborate with. Anyways, and he's got such a great channel. Great sense of humor. So much music knowledge. That astounds me. Anyway, so yeah, definitely check out Briar's Music Showcase. And besides that, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. And thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good day.